Today's video is about understanding how internal narratives contribute to mental stress and anxiety. I was talking to a client yesterday who was struggling with a life-changing event that occurred recently in her life, and she was away from home and she was in panic. Her nervous system was fired. Her mind was like a washing machine, and it felt like it was permanent, it was real, and it was very personal. Now, we've all been there. I've been there. We've all been there because this is part of the human experience. We're not living in a world where our experience is going to be um, on up here all the time. We're living in a world where our experience is like a roller coaster of ups and downs. And what we're looking at here really is how to be comfortable, to get comfortable with the ups and downs of life. And how do we do that? Well, we want to understand how our experience is created. So my client, I would say she's what I would call was yesterday was she was right in her experience. She was in it. And there's two things here. The first, which was what we did, was we did a bunch of things to calm her nervous system. Now, that's for another YouTube clip. Today, I'm actually going to talk about the second part, which was about understanding how the narratives in our mind were created in the first place. So let's look at what is thought. Well, thought is just electrical impulses in the brain. We have a steady stream of thought, millions and millions of thoughts, and we're just aware of about 5% of our thinking. Now, what are they made up of? They're made up of conditioning. They're made up of our belief systems, our perceptions, our projections, and thoughts generally occur in patterns. So they're not usually, most of the time we'll have been here before, we'll recognize the thought stream, we get into the same patterns of thinking, and we can recognize that. So thought is always created. Thoughts are like illusions. So they're never what they appear to be because we can only see our thinking or see an object or see our experience through a filter, which is the filter of our perceptions, our memories, our beliefs, all of these things. But a thought will feel very real, very permanent, and it will also feel very personal. So it will feel like it means something about us. So imagine if I said something to you and you started to blush, and it feels like the ground is about to open you up. And the more you think, oh, I don't want to blush, the more you will blush. So the fact is there that I said something to you and you had a thought about what I said it's in between your experience of blushing and what I said, you had a bunch of thinking about it. But that can be so fast that we almost notice the blushing before we notice the thinking. So it's not that I didn't say something, but it's that you have created the experience of blushing through your thinking. Now, if there's 5 people in the room listening to what I said, you may be the only person that has that experience of blushing. Each of the other people will have a different experience of what I said, whether it be didn't even notice what I'd said because they were off thinking about something else, or it brought sadness or happiness, but it will have had some feeling to it. But what happens first is we have a thought. We have a thought, and that thought creates an experience. That thought creates a feeling in the body. And thought and feeling are like, two sides of the hand. One side is thought, one side is feeling. You don't get one without the other. We have a thought, we have a feeling, but the thought will always come first. So thought creates an experience, it creates a feeling, and it creates a reality. So until we understand it, is it that it's not real, that it's not who you are, and that it's not static, it's actually moving. Until we understand that, it will continue to run our lives without thought will continue to run our lives um without being able to do anything about it, because we can't stop thought. Try stop yourself thinking so that you don't blush. Just doesn't work. You can't change it, you can't control it, you can't manipulate it. No matter how much we think we can, we can't change our thinking. Our thinking flows, and that's okay. It's okay. So we want to understand this experientially and allow our thinking to flow. Like, we can acknowledge it, we can embrace it, we can say hello to it, but allow it to flow, allow it to let it do what it does without your attachment to it. Because this thought is moving. It's not who, it can't be who you are. It doesn't mean anything about who you are, but it will sort itself out because our mind is a self-correcting system. So we never stay, when you have a mind storm, we never stay in that place. It always passes. There's a beginning and there's an end. And yes, a pattern will come back, and it will come back, and it will come back. And, but until we see it for what it is, when we see it for what it is, it dissolves. So back to my client. So we did some work on the nervous system, and I jumped up back on the phone with her a couple of hours later, and she had calmed down, and we talked about what happened and what her thinking was doing then, and how her thinking had changed dramatically. We talked about how transient it was, how it was not based on reality, the mindstorm that she was in, and how it didn't mean anything about who she is, or or about her future, because a lot of her thinking was predicting an outcome of this trip away. It was predicting what would happen when she returned home. It was predicting her future. But we don't know. How can we know? We don't have, without a crystal ball, we can't know what our future is. But our thoughts will do that. It will create a future, and then it will make it real. It will make it feel like it's happening now. It will make it mean something about us. But it doesn't, it can't. So you have to see this experientially, not just as a conceptual idea. Because if it's just a conceptual idea, then nothing changes. When you start to see this in your experience, a good question to ask yourself is, when you get this recurring thoughts, is 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 this thought true? And then, is it 100% true? Like, what is the evidence that this thought is true? Like, really, really ask yourself that question. And you will always find the answer is no. Because for every reason that it might be true, there's also an alternative example of where it might not be true. So it's important for you to try this out, to practice it, to see this in your experience. So my client then, she went on to tell me that the hotel that she was staying was not what she was expecting, and it really wasn't very good, and she paid a lot of money for it. And I asked her, what are you actually there for? Are you there for the hotel? Are you there for a spa weekend? Or are you there for the incredible program that you're here to learn about? Which was, of course, the latter. So I suggested to her, put your energy into what's important, and how you can grow, how you can learn this week. how you can move forwards. It's not about, when we put our energy into what is wrong, we'll create more of that thinking. That's where we'll put our energy into. Now, this is not like positive thinking. Positive thinking requires effort. It requires us to try. It requires us to try and change or manipulate our thinking. And this may work for temporary, but it doesn't always work. What does work is when we understand our thought and how it creates our experience, and how we can choose to put where we can choose to put our energy. It's a little bit like gravity. So we understand gravity, and because we understand gravity, we understand how to navigate in the world. And with thought, when we understand it, we understand how to navigate through it. It just, thought, it just is. So I'm going to leave you with that. The big thing here is to question, to notice, to become aware, and to question its reality. Is it true? Is it 100% true? So if you'd like to learn a little bit more about my work, head over to my website, margogeorge.com. I write a blog and I do a regular newsletter that you can subscribe to. And I have also got lots of other videos on my YouTube channel, which I'd love you to subscribe to. And I'd love to hear your comments below. I also offer a complimentary discovery call. So if you're interested in having a chat with me, DM me first with some details, and we'll have a little to and fro with on DM, and then we'll look at whether a conversation might be something that you would want to take up. So thank you very much. Bye.